Something strange is happening within the Duggar family. After more than 2 years away from the public eye, Jana Duggar has resumed posting on Instagram, and she is doing so with gusto. Other Duggars who have taken to a more private life have also ramped up their social media presence. While it might be nothing, Duggar family followers think something is brewing in Tontitown, Arkansas. The theories range from another federal investigation to a return to TV to another attempt to launch social media careers for some unattached Duggars. Jana Duggar was the first unmarried Duggar to open an Instagram account. She posted fairly regularly until 2022 when she suddenly stopped updating her account. Her profile sat dormant until this month. On May 9, Jana returned to Instagram with a video of flowers at the Duggar family's compound. A few days later, she shared a tribute post to her mother, Michelle Duggar. She followed those posts up with Instagram stories too. Her sudden return to the social media platform wouldn't be suspicious if other Duggar family members' profiles hadn't whirred to life around the same time. Jana isn't the only Duggar family member who opted to go underground following Josh Duggar's arrest and conviction. Jana's twin, John David Duggar, and his wife, Abby, began to post much less often. Josha and Lauren Duggar left social media entirely, and Joseph and Kendre followed their lead. While Joseph, Josha, and their wives haven't returned to Instagram, John and Abby are sharing more about their family life than they have been. The Duggar family's return to social media has some family followers pretty suspicious. Reddit users were quick to offer theories about Jana's sudden interest in social media. Several users strongly suspect the Duggar family is trying to divert attention from an incoming scandal. It wouldn't be the first time the family tried to bury negative press with their own social media posts. Following a federal investigation that led to the arrest and conviction of Josh Duggar on child pornography crimes, the family started posting at breakneck speed. They updated the world on their travels, their marriages, and their upcoming children, all seemingly to divert attention from Josh's arrest. It did not work, and following his conviction, they fell quiet. Could the family be trying to pump out positive press before a negative story breaks? Anything is possible, but there does not appear to be an active investigation into the family or the controversial ministry they are attached to. That could change at any time though. While another federal investigation is a theory being floated by Duggar family critics, another possible explanation exists. Some followers think the Duggars are trying to drum up income. Jana's sudden reappearance on Instagram could be her attempt to launch an influencer career. Now in her 30s and still unmarried, it seems plausible that Jana could be interested in making her own income, or has been told to do so by Jim Bob Duggar. Several of her sisters have worked as influencers over the years. Jeremy Vuolo even admitted the bulk of his family's income came from Jinger Vuolo's sponsorships and social media deals. While Jana never got into the game, a missing paycheck from TLC might drive her into the career path. Still, she must post much more often to make Instagram a viable income source. A bid to return to TV is also a working theory. For now, all seems quiet in Arkansas, and we likely won't know what is going on with the Duggar family anytime soon. Jill Duggar Dillard has come a long way since 19 Kids and Counting and the subsequent series, Counting On, were canceled by TLC. Jill has recently been stepping out in ways that show she is now an authority in her own life. The conservative upbringing she had under the Institute of Basic Life Principles taught her that using her voice to say no was unacceptable as a child, or as a woman under her parents' or husband's authority. The promotion of her new memoir and the interviews she has been getting on podcasts and other media demonstrate that finding her voice to tell her own story has not been easy. But she has finally found she can stand up to those who, in the past, she was convinced had authority over her. Jill has had a hand in raising children since she was a child herself. In her large family of 19 children, the older ones helped to raise the younger. She now has her hands full with her own children, 3 young boys of her own to raise. Her husband, Derek Dillard, is an attorney and from all accounts, appears to have been a support system that allowed his wife to see her fraught situation with her famous family more clearly. Growing up on television in a conservative religious family had the effect of reinforcing the lesson that, through obedience and an ever-present smile, she could be a shining example to others. Her father, Jim Bob Duggar, claimed that while their religion taught them to avoid watching television themselves, their series could be thought of as a ministry, an outreach to the world to show how happy and fruitful their family was. Jill's recent memoir, Counting the Cost, allowed the ex-reality star to reclaim the narrative of her tribulations with her family. The carefully curated image of the family came at a deep cost for the children, especially the young girls, who were the main draw in audience interest for the TLC series she had been part of since childhood. As Jill matured and began to view the world as a wife and mother, certain lessons from her youth became untenable. She began to question many things she had been raised to think of as true. Jill found her voice and began speaking her mind, with encouragement from her husband and rancor from her controlling father. Jill's participation in filming with her family was never a question of consent. Her parents signed on to the TLC series 19 Kids and Counting. As a continuation of the documentaries the network had already produced featuring the family. All the children were expected to film, as Jim Bob and his wife, Michelle Duggar, had signed contracts on their behalf. And there was no questioning the authority of a parent in the Duggar clan. Everything in Jill's life was documented as she scrupulously followed her parents' guidance. Shortly after her marriage to Derek, Jill settled into her new role as wife and expecting mother. Now an adult who had some autonomy outside the umbrella of her father's authority, Jill had the space to finally assess her role in the family and on the reality series she had been contractually obligated to participate in. When she and her husband were doing missionary work in El Salvador in 2016, the network and her father pressured her to return to film the new spin-off series Counting On. This pressure to perform was a direct result of her brother Josh Duggar being embroiled in a legal scandal regarding his history of abusing young girls in his youth, including Jill and her sister Kendre Duggar. In the Amazon documentary, Shiny, Happy People, Jill remarks that TLC producers wanted to distance themselves from that story. They and her father wanted Jill back in the States to film the new spin-off centered around the elder Duggar daughters. Jill and Derek initially refused to return for filming, as they had committed to 10 months working with the community in El Salvador. Then her father sent her a copy of a contract she had signed, committing herself to filming with his production company, Mad Family Incorporated. She had quickly signed the document, without even reviewing it when it was presented to her on her wedding day. Until that moment, she had been unaware that she had agreed to filming without pay, continuing the trend from 19 Kids and Counting, where the network paid her father's production company for her work on set. Jill claims that for 7.5 years as an adult, she worked on the show and received no compensation. Her young family was even driven to rely on food stamps at one point, emphasizing the precarious financial situation she was in, despite her family's fame and her father's wealth. Jill officially left Counting On in 2017, but the network will continue to feature her adult siblings on the series until 2021. Then, in 2023, Amazon produced their 4-part documentary series about the Duggars and their history with the Institute of Basic Living, Shiny Happy People, Duggar Family Secrets. Talking to the interviewer, Jill admits that she would rather not have to relive the dark times in her family history. But knowing that her story is already out there, she says, "I'd rather have a say in what that looks like." Throughout her childhood on television, she had very little say in what her life story looked like, guided as she was by her parents' beliefs. When the allegations against her brother Josh first came out in the media, Jill once again had little say in how the narrative was framed. In the wake of the 2015 revelations about her brother, an interview with Megyn Kelly was set up. Jill and her sister Kendre were then put in the horrible position of defending their abuser. In Shiny, Happy People, Jill mentions that the producers of 19 Kids and Counting and her father would have conversations about how the show would be handled in the wake of the allegations against Josh. The Megyn Kelly interview was meant to downplay what had transpired when her brother had abused her. As far as recovery and damage control, you just feel like the burden and the weight falls on you to help, because you're the only one who can. Jill has said that she now regrets participating in the interview, and she would not have done so if not for the sake of her parents. In her years since leaving Counting On, Jill has been working on finding her voice and setting boundaries with her family. Her participation in the Amazon documentary was against her father's wishes. In a joint statement released after the documentary was announced, Jim Bob and Michelle referred to the documentary as sad and sensationalized. They also commented, "We have always believed that the best chance to repair damaged relationships or to reconcile differences is through love in a private setting." An ironic stance, considering how public they made their children's lives over the years. Jill knew that her story would be discussed in the documentary, regardless if she participated or not. And so it was important to her to have a say in how her narrative was shaped. She has also reclaimed her own narrative by releasing her memoir. Since finding her voice, Jill has stood firm in her commitment to setting boundaries with her family. Jill has been promoting Counting the Cost, which was released in September 2023. Her appearance on the Unplanned podcast in January 2024 provided an update on her relationship with her family now that she is speaking out against her upbringing. On the podcast, she mentions that it has been more than a year since she has spoken with her father. Jill discusses the rupture in her family, saying once she started to have a difference of opinion from her father, things got a little rocky. In Shiny, Happy People, she even went so far as to call the Institute of Basic Life Principles cult-like, saying that the belief system draws in people like her father, who want to have control. In her memoir, she recalls an instance when, during a sit-down where the family tried to come to terms with each other, Jim Bob had brought up a letter Jill had written, calling her disrespectful. They had discussed text messages she had sent where she had referred to him as verbally abusive. And Jim Bob got so frustrated by the conversation that he rose up towards his daughter. She described him as towering over her, calling it an act of aggression. She recalls crying as she told her father the reason she is so upset is that they treat her like she is a horrible person for breaking free from the tenets of her father's belief system. "You treat me worse than you treat my pedophile brother." When she appeared on the Vulnerable podcast in October 2023, she revealed that things got so bad between them at one point that Derek had to threaten Jim Bob with a protective order if he continued to contact Jill directly. Jim Bob reportedly threatened the other children with disinheritance in a family group chat if they spoke out publicly against their father. Anna and Austin Forsyth are making headlines lately. These Duggar News stars first became popular through Counting On. Then when the show ended, they branched out as social media influencers and had a YouTube channel. Austin also works as a contractor. Fans are already aware that Joy-Anna grew up in a strict household with 18 other siblings who follow IBLP practices. But over the years, Joy-Anna has been able to see the truth for herself. Instead of blindly following a lifestyle, she got the ability to question her faith and religious values. It happened right after the scandal with Josh Duggar. In a new interview, Joy-Anna has revealed a toxic side of her father, Jim Bob Duggar, as he has a courtship checklist for his kids. It's been a while since Joy-Anna and Austin Forsyth appeared in front of TV screens. Yet they are very comfortable sharing about their life on social media. Recently, they appeared in the Unplanned podcast and talked about their stance on faith and religion. Joy-Anna was quick to address how her sister Jinger's redefining her faith gave her the courage to do so. She admitted to not knowing what even is real after reading Jinger's book, Becoming Free Indeed. My story of disentangling faith from fear. But Joy-Anna talking to her sister before reading her book helped her realize she can have all the time she needs to process and redefine her relationship with faith. Similarly, Joy-Anna ended up recalling some borderline questionable things she witnessed while growing up, like her father Jim Bob's courtship checklist, while talking about her IBLP lifestyle. Jana Duggar got very candid about her courtship period, and so did her husband, Austin Forsyth. Duggar News followers who have also watched the show must know how they encouraged kids to court for marriage as they turned 16. They found it better and more foolproof than dating to choosing partners for marriage. Jana and Austin revealed that her father, Jim Bob Duggar, had a checklist for the suitors. It would have questions about their family planning, financial standings, religious beliefs, and so on. The latter intervened and said that there were some things on the list which shouldn't have been Jim Bob's business, like if the person has an arrest record. But Jana felt that it was an easy and quick way to get to know a suitor for their kids, so she didn't mind at the time. But years later, after looking back, she wants to tweak a bit of things from the courting list. How do you feel about Jim Bob's practice of